Hello, my name is Dr. Brent Anderson with the Balanced Body Podcast here in beautiful Miami at the Polestar Center for Physical Therapy and Pilates. I'm a physical therapist and I specialize in Pilates for rehabilitation, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about treatment of low back pain and three basic principles that we refer to in Polestar when initiating treatment of mechanical low back pain. And the first one of those is disassociation and stabilization. I got Jamie here with me today to help me with this process, and she's going to start with a basic exercise of footwork. And what I want to look at in particular is the ability to disassociate at the hips, as if the hinge of the body was right here, keeping the lumbar area nice and quiet. So we're going to just allow her to do this a couple times, and I want to talk a little bit about the reason why disassociation is so important. When there is an injury, mechanical low back pain, the first thing we tend to do is to over-recruit our muscles to protect ourselves. And one of the muscle groups we tend to over-recruit is that of the gluteus muscles of the buttocks area, as well as the hip with the abductors. By teaching our patients how to do disassociation stabilization exercise, very basic work, we basically facilitate movement in the hips and facilitate stabilization control in the abdominal and trunk area. The next principle that I want to talk about is that of spine articulation. If you could just take home this one message, the distribution of movement equals distribution of force. I'm going to ask Jamie now to go into a bridging series and just gently articulating one vertebrae at a time. I have 3 heavy springs on the reformer right now to make sure there's no migration of the carriage as she articulates up and down. Now, with the articulation coming up, again, a lot of times we tend to over-recruit L5-S1. And what I'm really looking for is to see movement in the upper lumbar vertebrae. So as she exhales and really feels this dropping down one segment at a time and creating almost an axial elongation as she drops down. Let's do that one more time, and this time stop here, and let's add a lateral translation. Again, facilitating isolated control of each of the facets. Drop down another segment, slide to the right, slide to the left, back to center, drop down another segment, slide, and slide. Now what this does is helps facilitate and wake up those local stabilizing muscles, the multifidi, the rotators, and even segments of the transverse abdominis wake up when we do these segmental articulations. Again, distribution of movement equals distribution of force. Let's go into quadruped. The last exercise that I want to do is actually challenging this disassociation stabilization concept by placing Jamie in a quadruped position. By reducing the springs, we increase the difficulty of the anterior abdominal muscles, and I'm going to have her just sit back for a second with her hips to a nice position, again placing the body exactly where I want it. Yeah? And we're going to have the movement just from the hips as she disassociates, pressing out. However, now it's much more challenging because she no longer has the contact feedback from the machine laying on her back. And let's just do 2 more of those. And press out a little bit further. And we can also add the disassociation with the arms as she presses out with her arms into a plank position. So again, the lighter the springs, the more challenging the exercise. And by removing the contact or the feedback from the carriage also makes it a little more challenging. Come on in and relax. So 3 points. We start out with disassociation stabilization to be able to free up that pattern, that faulty movement pattern of over-recruiting the gluteus maximus muscles. We then go into spine articulation. Distribution of movement equals distribution of force. And the last thing is we challenge that newly acquired movement of disassociation stabilization in the quadruped position. Look forward to seeing you in the future at another Balanced Body podcast. Brent Anderson signing out.